Hello, everyone. Welcome to Save News TV. And today we have so many breaking stories. It's like they're one after another, a breaking. And so, what I put in the description, we're definitely going to cover. But of course, we just had Brittany Grenier with Griner. I always call her Grenier, but Griner testified today. But what we're going to cover also today is the Dems introduced a bill requiring term limits for the United States Supreme Court. Additionally, both Democrats and Republicans agree that Nancy Pelosi should visit Taiwan despite Biden's warning. Then we're going to go over China is not playing. No. They said that there would be serious consequences if Nancy Pelosi goes to Taiwan. So we're going to discuss that today also. If we get an opportunity, which we will hopefully, we're going to discuss Nancy Pelosi and her perfect stock timing to sell her stock. And today, after I had prepared what we're going to talk about, her husband just dumped Nvidia stock just before Congress is set to pass the CHIPS Plus bill. So we're wondering, is there insider trading going on here? And we have so many other things that if we get an opportunity to cover today, we will cover. So hang tight. Let's get to the first story, which is Brittany. As you know, that she was arrested in Russia due to drug paraphernalia. She had some in vape pipes, and so she was detained and arrested, and subsequently she pled guilty. So we want to go over this story of Brittany testifying today. And so she said today in her testimony during her drug possession trial in Russia that an interpreter translated only a fraction of what was said during questioning when she was detained at Moscow airport in February, and that officials told her to sign documents without explaining what they said. In her first testimony in the trial under questioning from prosecutions, she also said that besides poor translation at the airport, she received neither an explanation of her rights nor access to an lawyer during the initial hours of her detention. She said she used the translation app on her phone to get a basic idea of what she'd been told. She's been arrested since mid-February after police said they found vape cartridges containing cannabis oil in her luggage. She has pled guilty to the charges, but says she had no criminal intent on entering the country. She said that it was at the heightened tensions between Moscow and Washington ahead of Russia sending troops to Ukraine later that month. That's when her arrest came. The slow-moving trial at Griner's 5 months of detention have raised strong criticism among teammates and supporters in the United States, which has officially been declared her as wrongfully detained. And also, she could face up to 10 years in prison. Trials in Russia proceed even after a guilty plea, and there has been speculation that her admission was a bid to move the legal process along in hopes of a possible prisoner swap. At the start of Wednesday's sessions, lawyers asked that she would be allowed to testify outside the cage, that the standards for defendants in Russia courts, arguing it was too small a 6-foot by 9-foot athlete to testify while standing. The judge denied the request, but allowed her to speak while seated. Okay. After 2 hours of the proceedings, she did not understand. She said she did not have a competent interpreter. She did not understand and was allowed to hand her personal belongings over to her lawyer. Okay, her next trial date is August 2nd. I didn't really mean waiting to cover this story, but what I want to say about this is, number one, this is Russia. This is not the United States of America. And the sooner that America realizes that we are not, this is not an American court, then maybe they will be more so honest with the American people about what's going on here. I'm trying to, honey, child, news stories coming in left and right. News stories coming in left and right. So, why are we not live on this stream? Okay. This is crazy. Okay. So, the sooner we realize that, the sooner it's going to be. It's unfortunate. They say that 90% of people that are detained in Russia for the charges that she is charged at receive 10 years. Okay, y'all, my green light is acting crazy. All right. But they receive 10 years. And also, I don't know what the defense is, and I don't know whether they're trying to make it as if they're in America, but I don't know. You all tell me. I know that there are a lot of people on both sides of the aisle with this particular case because of her position regarding the national anthem. And also that there are several other prisoners in Russia and across the world that have been detained. So that is the situation. This is her attorney's strategy, is to say, I didn't have proper interpretation at the airport. I didn't understand what I was signing completely. This is their strategy. It was a mistake. I was in a rush. She had COVID. This is their strategy to hopefully elicit sympathy from the court. But we don't know. This is Russia. Again, this is not America. And the Russian court system operates totally different than the American system. So you need to keep that in mind as we go forward with this particular case. Now, next up is Miss Nancy Pelosi and her perfect timing on her stock picks. And we are definitely wondering whether we have some insider trading going on here, because Nancy Pelosi is having perfect timing. And the story following this is her husband today dumped stock prior to a bill being signed. So Nancy Pelosi, she has perfect timing. Her husband has a notable history of buying stock right before they skyrocket, a destructive agenda. Parents push back on American colleges. Okay. So this is the thing with Nancy Pelosi. She has, and her husband has bought stock and sold stock immediately while waiting for the money to come in. Okay. Well, I would say the money to come in, but the bills to come in. And it's right beforehand. And so there's been questioning throughout the media is if there's insider trading dealing with Nancy Pelosi. Well, you say, well, that might not be so. Well, so here we are. Nancy Pelosi And her husband just sold Nvidia stock right before Congress is set to pass the CHIPS Plus bill. And so Nancy Pelosi reported that her husband sold all his stock of the chip maker Nvidia. The document states Paul Pelosi sold 25,000 shares worth up to $5 million at a reported loss. The trade comes as Congress is set to pass a $54 billion dollar bill to bolster U.S. chip manufacturing and research. Now, this is for a tax purpose to sell something as a loss right before then. Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, has sold all his stock on Tuesday as Congress is set to pass the bill. Paul Pelosi sold between 1 and 5 million worth, or 25,000 shares, at the average cost of $165.05 on July 26, according to the mandatory congressional financial disclosure filed on Tuesday by the Speaker. Members of Congress are only required to report the values of the values of their trade. Okay. So he said that he suffered a loss of $341,365. So this is probably going to be used to offset the gains at the end of the year, the tax year. This disclosure financial loss is notable because Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, rarely volunteers such detailed information about her husband's stocks and stock option trade. But Pelosi have faced significant questions and criticism right in recent days about the timing of Paul Pelosi's Nvidia's investment. Insider previously reported that Paul exercised 200 call options or 20,000 shares worth between 1 million and 5 million on the 17th. Now, that was June 17th. And on July 26th, he sold at the strike price of $100. So if for those that don't understand stock, I'm not going to go into this. I'm not a financial advisor. But the strike price, when he bought calls, he is betting on the price to decrease. He sold it at 165, and at a loss. So by the bill coming forward and to be voted on, that would have caused possibly the stock price to drop. And so he had already on June 17th made a bet, said, hey, this stock is going to drop down to $100. And he would have made massive money. But I don't know whether because the spotlight has been put on Nancy Pelosi that he decided, excuse me, to sell before that. There are several channels that really go over stock in detail that I can recommend to you all. I think one of them is Stock Up with Larry Jones. And I like his channel, and Stock Mo, and Keenan. I forget his last name. But those are three that I watch when I trade stock. But anyway, so Paul Pelosi's trade coming at a time when Congress is set to pass the bill, $54 billion in statewide semiconductor manufacturing and research, a producer of graphic processing units and developing interior circuits. So last week, Pelosi denied in a press conference that her venture capitalist husband traded stock using information given to him. Absolutely not, she said. Okay. So anyway, what I'm going to do is, as always, you all know that I love to put the information in the chat for you to find out for yourself and to research for yourself. So I'm going to put this article in the chat. One thing about what's going on with Facebook, with our streaming service, I don't know. Stuff is not going over to Facebook. So if you're on Facebook watching, I suggest you come over on YouTube channel, Save News TV, and you'll be able to get all of this information. So Nancy Pelosi is definitely on her way to have a wonderful, wonderful stock season. And also, while we're on the topic of Nancy Pelosi, Taiwan has said, listen, we do not want you, Nancy Pelosi, over here. Well, China has said that because they're saying that Taiwan belongs to China, and we do not want Nancy Pelosi over here. But the Democrats and the Republicans are telling Nancy, go, Nancy, go. Go, Nancy, go. Go over there. But anyway, this is what the Democrats and Republicans are saying. And Joe Biden is saying, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Republicans and Democrats in Congress are rallying behind Nancy Pelosi. Let me put this on screen so you can see it. Nancy Pelosi, by urging her to follow through of a potential visit to Taiwan, even though President Biden says the Pentagon believes such a trip is not a good idea right now. Now, you all know I drag Biden. I really do. I drag him. But in this particular case, listening to what China is saying, I'm going to have to give Joe Biden his props on this, because this is not the best idea for Nancy Pelosi to be trotting over there, even though Democrats and Republicans tell her, go, Nancy, go, go, Nancy, go. Okay, China has gone much further, warning that there would be a forceful measures if Pelosi steps foot on the Democratic island Beijing considers a breakaway providence. Okay. Now, we all over there in Ukraine's business and Russia's business. All right. We done spent billions of dollars over there unnecessarily, because that's none of our business. Now we have China saying, look, you come over here, Nancy, there's going to be forceful measures, okay? But the Democrats and the Republicans saying, go ahead, Nancy, go, 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 go. At this time, even though Biden might have his issues, I have to agree with him. Girl, you better stay away from Taiwan. Pelosi's potential visit has created a rare and high-profile intra-party rift between the veteran legislator, a staunch defender of Taiwan, and an outspoken critic of China's human rights abuse, and the Biden administration officials who are wary about escalating tensions with the Asian superpower. Now, we got enough stuff going on over here than for Nancy to go over there when they're telling you, we are not playing with you all. Do not come over here. Do not. All right. But it has also created some bipartisan unity on Capitol Hill. I wonder how much bipartisan. Is it just one or two Republicans saying go, 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 or is it many more? Let's find out. If I were the speaker, I'd be going, said Representative Pete Sessions, Republican of Texas, who has served with Pelosi in Congress for more than 2 decades. Senator Roy Blunt, Republican, Missouri, who previously served with Pelosi in the House, said, if she wants to go, I certainly think she should go. And I think she should be more motivated to go now that she's being discouraged, and colleagues should join with her. I think it's important that we go over there and tell Taiwan that they are an important Democratic ally, says Senator Rick Scott, chairman of the Senate GOP's campaign arm. We ought to be clear. There is no ambiguity that we will support them if they should invade get invaded by communist China. Several Democrats expressed the same thing, encouraged her. So it appears that, not appears, it is that several Republicans and Democrats are saying, go, Nancy, go on over there. Go there. Please, Nancy. I'm going to put this in the chat for you. Go over there. We don't care whether or not China is saying don't go. We don't care whether or not Biden is saying don't go. We want you to go, Nancy, go. But the Chinese have a whole totally different take on this. The Chinese are saying, look, do not come over here. You come over here, you're in for a new revelation. And it's not going to be well for you. All right. So China is warning. Top Chinese officials are warning of serious consequences if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visits the island nation of Taiwan, which China has long insisted is not an independent state, but rather part of China. The U.S. will be responsible for all of the serious consequences, Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Zhao Lingjie said about the potential visit when he was speaking with Sky News. He added that there will be a firm and resolute measures in reaction to Pelosi's trip. Pelosi was planning a trip to Taiwan in April, which would have made her the highest ranking U.S. official to visit the island since 1997, but was forced to cancel the trip after testing positive for CV. Excuse me. Pelosi has not officially rescheduled the trip, but rumors circulating that she intends to go after saying last week that it is important for us to show our support to Taiwan. We do not confirm or deny international travel in advance due to long-standing security protocols, Pelosi's spokesperson said. U.S. officials say they have little fear that China would attack Nancy Pelosi's plane if she flies to Taiwan. Okay. But Pelosi would be entering one of the world's hottest spots where a mishap, misstep, or misunderstanding could endanger her safety. So the Pentagon is developing plans for any contingency. Okay. Chinese officials told the Associated Press that if Pelosi goes to Taiwan, the military would increase its movement of forces and assets in the Indo-Pacific region. They declined to provide details, but said that fighter jets, ships, surveillance assets, and other military systems would likely be used to provide overlapping rings of protection for her flight in Taiwan and anytime they're on the ground. Asked by the planned military steps to protect Pelosi, U.S. General Mark Milley, chairman of the Chief Joint Staff, said Wednesday that discussions of specific travel is premature. He added, if there's a decision made by Pelosi or anyone else going to travel and they ask for military support, we will do what's necessary for their safety. Biden, who is also scheduled to speak on phone with President Xi Jinping within the next 10 days, told reporters last week that the U.S. believes that the trip is not a good idea. The White House did not immediately respond to the request for a statement. Okay, so this is the thing. When we're dealing with China, it's not just Nancy's flight over there, her trip, her stay there, and her return. There are other consequences that they're stating that's going to happen. And at this point, in this juncture, in the delicacy that the United States is with other nations, why stir the pot? There is no reason for Nancy Pelosi to travel over there. She is not the president of the United States. She has no reason to be over there. And so it's almost like she wants to, try the system. They want to try it. As people used to say, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. We're going to go over there anyway. We're going to go over there anyway because I just don't believe that China's going to do anything. Well, why even put yourself in that type of position? I'm reading one of the messages over here in the chat. But put ourselves in that position. We're already over here in Ukraine's business, so it's important for us to stay out of this thing with China, because China has made a promise and issued a warning, and for us to go over there knowing that there's a warning given, then we are, like, okay, we just don't believe. we don't believe. So anyway, I don't know. You all tell me in the chat, what do you all think? Do you think that it is something that the Nancy Pelosi should do? Do you think she should be running over there to China? I mean, to Taiwan after the warning from China? Okay. Well, next up is the Democrats has introduced a bill to put term limits on the justices of the Supreme Court. So as we know that there has been several decisions that Democrats are not agreeing with. And one thing that I'm beginning to find very troubling is if they do not get their way, then the rules change, definitions change, everything changes to suit, reality changes to suit what they want. There are times that's, if there's Republicans seated, Republicans in power, they get their way. When Democrats in power, they get their way. But one thing that we've seen that has been, it's called backfire. And when the Democrats change certain rules that has been in stone into Congress, Senate, presidential race, it just has a negative effect on us and on the process. So let's just get into this. So they introduced a bill that would establish term limits for the Supreme Court justices after an unprecedented term of the highest court produced a series of deeply conservative rulings upending American law. Well, before they do term limits on the Supreme Court, why don't they do term limits on themselves? Okay, because I'm telling you, some of them, they've been there too long and they need to go. In June, the court, dominated 6-3 by Republican appointees, overturned the right to an abortion. It also issued consequential rulings on gun control and environmental and other controversial issues. Now, that's the thing. Because you don't get your way, then you're going to change the whole system. No, what you do, you're supposed to do your job, which is to make laws. If you do what you're supposed to do and let the courts do what they're supposed to do, then the legislative branch, the judicial branch, the executive branch run smoothly. Everybody's not going to get what they want. They're just not. Okay. The Supreme Court tenure established and Retirement Modernization Act term would establish 18-year terms for Supreme Court justices and establish a process for the president to appoint a new justice every 2 years. Come on now. After an 18-year term, justices would be retired from active judicial service. If the bill were to take effect, the 9 justices now on the court would essentially be forced into senior status in order to reverse seniority as jurists and were appointed under a new mechanism. Supreme Court justices are currently appointed for life. The U.S. stands alone as the only advanced democracy that does not have either a fixed term or a mandatory retirement ages for judges in its high court. Okay, well, that's what we have there, is that they are now putting forth a bill to do term limits for the Supreme Court justices. So what do you all think on that? Okay. Now, the last thing we're going to cover, I have gone pretty fast. Normally, I try to cover several things at once. I'll say this is the last thing we're going to cover, but I'm going to screen the news before I end, and then just see if there's anything else coming up. All right, now this one is very interesting story that's in the news now. Okay, Senate top Democrats candidates refuse to say whether men can get pregnant or define the word woman. People, again, where are we going with this? Why is there attack on women? Why there attack on men? Everyone can have their name, but why are you trying to force something that just isn't there? I'm confused. Okay. Several Democrats who are seeking election or re-election in states around the country refuse to provide the definition of the word woman or offer their thoughts on whether men have the capacity to become pregnant. Now, didn't they tell us to believe science? But when it comes to social issues, we can't define what a woman is. I'm just saying. Fox News reached out to multiple Democratic candidates about the topic and received no responses from Senators Raphael Warnock, Catherine Cortez Masto, Mark Kelly, Maggie Hassan, and Senate nominees John Fetterman, Tim Ryan, and Sherry Beasley ahead of the midterm elections. Now, this is what I want to ask here. Exactly, how do you all feel about this? Do you feel that this is something that should be answered? Do you feel that this is something that should be even questioned as to why they can't define what the term woman is? I'm confused. So I would like for you all to share with me why is this a major issue here? Why can't they define the term woman? And if a woman can have, everybody can have their rights. Everybody can have their rights. But that doesn't mean that you take the rights from one to give to another so that they can be comfortable. No, everyone has rights, and we should respect men, women, and whomever. Okay, but just saying, we don't have rights. We're not going to even answer what is a woman. The question. Okay. All right, so we're running over to the major news sources to check and see if there's anything else that we want to cover. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to say, and that is there is I don't have time to cover it today, but while we're talking about the definitions and how they're changing, I was watching a young content creator by the name of um, Rhonda Mary, and she just did a wonderful video that the definition of recession has changed. Remember, I told you all a while back that we were in a recession, even though they don't want to claim it. But if you go over there and watch that video, and she does a wonderful job of explaining that. Now, the last thing we want to cover is that the Fed is getting ready for another rate hike. And this is coming fast. All right. They are not playing. They are not playing. We are getting another rate hike, and it is coming. The Feds to unveil another large rate hike as signs of economic slowdown grow. The Fed is expected to raise policy rates to 2.25 to 2.25 to 2.5 range. Policy statements due at 2 p.m. And so I'm going to put this in from Reuters. So the policy rate should come in, but I'll be off the air when they probably come in. But with the Federal Reserve expected the hike at its key interest rate of the third quarter percentage point, on Wednesday to battle high inflation. Here we go. Excuse me. A lot of talking. Focus will shift on how deeply signs of possible economic slowdown have registered with its policymakers. I've put in the chat where you can find this. They're going to release the new rates at 2:00, and it's probably Eastern Standard Time, and it is now going on 20 minutes till. But anyway, everyone, I thank you so much for allowing us into your home. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. As news come in, please let us know. We are here for it. Getting bored? Want to enjoy some relaxing music? Do you need to get updated with all the latest news, but don't have enough time to watch TV for hours? Or do you need to get your praise and worship on? We have your solution to your problem. SaveNewsRadio.com got everything you need. Listen to SaveNewsRadio.com, filled with praise and worship 24/7, everywhere, in your home, laptop, or tablet, on your phone, in your car, and on Alexa. Install the Save News Radio skill on Alexa, and then just say, "Alexa, launch Save News Radio." The beautiful, uplifting sounds of praise and worship music, ministries, news, and more. SaveNewsRadio.com, created to glorify God and edify the body of Christ.